In a peaceful town, a handyman assignment unexpectedly blossoms into a profound connection with Mrs. Caroline, a widowed woman who had closed her heart since her husband's death. As I worked on fixing her house, we shared laughter, stories, and a deep connection that stirred emotions long buried in both of us. What started as a routine repair turned into a meaningful relationship, filled with both joy and the bittersweet weight of our past experiences. Join me as we embark on this emotional journey of love, vulnerability, and the courage it takes to open our hearts again. If you're not subscribed, I encourage you to subscribe and turn on notifications to avoid missing any of my videos. What seemed like a simple task soon became a significant encounter. I had spent years working as a handyman in the town, tackling various odd jobs to help people with their home repairs. One sunny afternoon, I received a call from Mrs. Caroline, a 61-year-old widow who had recently moved into a peaceful neighborhood known for its calming atmosphere. Her soft, welcoming voice carried a warmth as she described the repairs she needed in her home. She listed a few issues: a dripping faucet, an old shelf that had fallen from the wall, and a couple of other minor tasks. Nothing appeared too difficult, so after a short discussion, we agreed that I would come by the next day. When I arrived at her house the following morning, Mrs. Caroline greeted me at the door with a kind and genuine smile. Her silver hair flowed just past her shoulders, framing a face marked by gentle wrinkles, yet it still radiated the glow of a life well lived. She wore a simple yet elegant floral dress that matched her graceful demeanor. As she welcomed me inside, I noticed her home exuded a quiet elegance. She guided me through the rooms, pointing out the necessary repairs. I couldn't help but admire the care she had taken in arranging everything. From the thoughtfully chosen decor to the neatness of the furnishings, her pride in her living space was evident. For the next few hours, I diligently worked through the tasks on her list. Mrs. Caroline stayed close, offering me cold drinks, checking on my progress, and engaging in light conversation. At first, our talk was casual, revolving around everyday subjects like the weather and home maintenance. But as time passed and I completed the repairs, the atmosphere shifted. Our conversations became deeper and more personal. She shared memories of her late husband, recounting their life together and the deep loneliness that had filled her home since he passed. There was a sadness in her eyes as she spoke, but also a quiet strength, revealing her resilience. It was clear how much she had loved him, and the void left by his absence testified to the depth of their bond. As the sun set, casting golden light through the windows, I finished the last repair. I cleaned my hands and stood, feeling a sense of accomplishment. Mrs. Caroline, sensing that our time was ending, graciously invited me to stay for tea. Although I had other work to attend to, her gentle nature made it impossible to refuse. It felt like she was offering more than just tea; she was offering companionship. We settled into her cozy kitchen, the scent of brewed tea filling the air. As we sipped from our cups, an unspoken connection seemed to grow between us, blending understanding with warmth. She looked at me over the rim of her cup, her gaze both comforting and intense. "You've been such a great help today," she said softly, her voice filled with more than just gratitude. "It's been a long time since I've had someone to talk to, someone who could help around the house." I smiled back at her, feeling a connection I couldn't quite explain. "It's my job, Mrs. Caroline," I replied, though my words seemed inadequate for the moment we were sharing. She placed her cup down, her fingers lingering on the handle as if grounding herself in the moment. "Please, call me Caroline," she said, her voice dropping to a near whisper, inviting intimacy. In that moment, I realized that this simple job had turned into something far more meaningful, a bond forged through shared stories, warmth, and a quiet understanding between two lives that had crossed paths, even if only for an afternoon. If you're still watching and enjoying these stories, please comment one below to let me know you're still with me. I appreciate your valuable time. A shift occurred in the room then, a subtle tension that neither of us addressed directly. It wasn't uncomfortable, but it hung in the air like an unspoken understanding. Her gaze lingered on me, steady and searching, carrying the weight of things left unsaid. In that moment, clarity dawned on me. This encounter had surpassed professional boundaries, turning into something much deeper. She rose from her chair slowly, her graceful movements drawing my full attention. As she walked toward me, her eyes remained locked on mine, and I found myself holding my breath, as though even the act of breathing had become a weighty task. Her presence was both powerful and gentle, a captivating contrast that kept me entranced. She stopped just inches from me, the space between us charged with unspoken feelings, and her hand reached out hesitantly to softly touch my arm. The warmth of her touch sent a subtle wave through me, sparking something that signaled this was much more than a simple gesture of comfort. "I haven't felt this way in a long time," she admitted in a low voice, her words shaky as though she struggled to accept the weight of them. "It's been ages since I've allowed myself to feel anything." Her confession lingered between us, fragile yet tangible, and in her eyes I saw both the fear of rejection and the faint hope for something deeper. My heart raced as I understood the silent request hidden in her words, unspoken yet clear in the way she stood so close, waiting for me to bridge the gap between us. Moved by an instinct I couldn't ignore, I reached out, placing my hand over hers, feeling the softness of her skin beneath my fingertips. The sensation was both electrifying and calming. To my relief, she didn't pull away. Instead, she leaned in, her face now mere inches from mine, allowing me to see every detail, every line etched by time evidence of her journey, which only made her more beautiful and authentic. In that moment, her breath, warm and inviting, brushed against my cheek, and the scent of her perfume enveloped me, heightening the sense of intimacy between us. Without hesitation, I closed the distance between us, and our lips met in a soft, tentative kiss that felt like the start of something new. She responded immediately, her hands finding their way to my shoulders, pulling me closer as if anchoring herself to the moment. The kiss deepened, starting slow and gentle but quickly growing more passionate. Each passing second ignited a fire in both of us. There was a deep yearning in her that mirrored my own, a desire long buried beneath routine and responsibility. Her hands slid to the back of my neck, her touch sending shivers of excitement down my spine, awakening emotions I had nearly forgotten. When we finally pulled away from the embrace, she gazed up at me, her eyes filled with a potent mixture of desire and uncertainty. "I didn't think I could feel this way again," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "But with you I do." At that moment I found myself at a loss for words, overwhelmed by the realization that nothing else mattered. The age difference, the fact that this began as a professional relationship, it all seemed insignificant compared to what we were experiencing. What we shared was undeniably real. As if an invisible force had bound us together, making it impossible to ignore. I instinctively pulled her back into my arms, holding her close, feeling her heartbeat steady against my chest. For hours we remained like that, moving through the house as though the outside world no longer existed. Our conversation flowed effortlessly, laughter escaping between us like sunlight breaking through clouds. Our lips met repeatedly, each kiss filled with tenderness, every soft touch drawing us deeper into a connection that felt both exhilarating and peaceful. There was no rush, no urgency in our movements. It felt like we had all the time in the world, and I intended to cherish every moment. Eventually she led me to the living room, where a soft fire crackled in the hearth, casting a warm glow across her features. The flickering light highlighted her beauty, making her seem even more radiant than before. She sat on the couch and gestured for me to join her, and I did so eagerly. The moment I settled beside her, she leaned into me, resting her head on my shoulder, and it felt as natural as a puzzle piece clicking into place, even though the intimacy between us was still so new. As the evening progressed, our conversation ventured into deeper territory. Caroline began to open her heart, sharing the years she had spent alone after her husband's death. Her voice was steady but low as she reflected on a time filled with sorrow and isolation. "I built walls around my heart," she said quietly. "I thought if I shut everyone out, I wouldn't have to face the pain of losing again." I listened intently, my heart aching for her past, but also swelling with pride, knowing I had helped her rediscover her ability to feel and trust once more. Her words flowed like a river, each story peeling back another layer of her life that I had yet to explore. She spoke of quiet nights spent alone, of memories that haunted her in the stillness, and of the emptiness that settled in her chest after her husband's passing. "I lost more than just a partner," she confessed, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I lost myself, my joy, my ability to love without fear." As she revealed her vulnerabilities, I felt a bond forming between us, one built on shared pain and the understanding that life is often intertwined with sorrow. In the quiet that followed, I realized what we had was far beyond physical attraction. This connection resonated on a level I had never experienced before. The age gap, the circumstances of how we met, none of it mattered in the face of what we had. I glanced down at her, her eyes now half closed in contentment as she rested against me, and in that moment I knew I wanted more than just a passing connection. I longed to be a steady presence in her life, filling the emptiness she had carried for so long, just as she had begun to fill the void within me, altering my world in ways I never anticipated. As the flames flickered in the fireplace, a profound peace settled between us, an unspoken promise of what could be. I wanted to stand by her, to be her support as she navigated life's challenges, offering the love and care she deserved. I hoped we could create new memories together, replacing the shadows of her past with moments of joy and laughter, building a future filled with happiness. In that intimate moment, it dawned on me that our bond wasn't just about romance, it was about healing, understanding, and the bravery required to embrace love again after heartbreak. We had both known loss, but here we were, finding comfort in one another. It reminded me of love's power to heal wounded hearts, bridge the loneliness, and unite two souls in a way that felt predestined. The night continued as we shared stories, dreams, and laughter, each passing moment strengthening our connection. Holding her close, I could feel not only the warmth from her body but also from her spirit, which illuminated the darkness that had surrounded her for so long. I realized that together, we could forge a new path, one paved with love, companionship, and the promise of a brighter future. As the minutes passed, I felt the weight of the past lifting, replaced by the thrilling anticipation of what lay ahead. I wanted to explore this journey with her, to uncover the depths of her heart, and to share mine in return. The future stretched out before us like an open book, waiting to be written, and I was eager to craft our story together, one filled with love, understanding, and the beautiful complexities of life shared with someone special. As the fire slowly died, its glowing embers flickered in the dim light, and the house settled into a peaceful silence that wrapped around us like a warm embrace, creating a cozy atmosphere. Caroline turned toward me, her eyes shining with a mix of emotions, and a soft smile touched her lips. Her fingers traced delicate patterns on my chest, sending waves of warmth through me, sparking an intimacy that was both profound and exhilarating. "I don't want this to end," she murmured, her voice soft and low, with a hint of uncertainty that tugged at my heart. The vulnerability in her words stirred something deep within me, awakening the need to reassure her that what we had was precious. I returned her smile, gently brushing aside a loose strand of her silver hair, my fingers lingering on her soft skin. "It doesn't have to," I whispered, each word carrying a promise I fully meant, a vow that this connection was something we could hold on to, something that didn't have to fade with the night. In response to my words, she leaned in and kissed me again. This kiss was tender, sweet, filled with the weight of hope, hinting that perhaps something even more meaningful awaited us beyond this moment. In that shared intimacy, I felt a shift, one that marked a point of no return. As the last embers of the fire cast dancing shadows on the walls, highlighting the contours of her face, the weight of our emotions settled around us, creating a cocoon of closeness that was impossible to ignore. If you're still watching this video and find these stories meaningful, please comment too below to let me know you're still with me. Thank you for your precious time. Caroline's hand lingered softly on my chest, her gaze locked on mine, searching for reassurance, as if seeking confirmation that this was indeed the beginning of something beautiful and transformative. There was no denying the fire of passion between us, but now, in the quiet of the room, it became clear that what we had was far deeper than just a fleeting connection. It was a profound bond, one that promised to grow and evolve. Her lips parted slightly, and I saw in her eyes a vulnerability that reflected someone who had been hurt before, someone who had guarded their heart for years, but had now found the courage to let someone in again. I could sense the walls she had built to protect herself from past pain and heartache, but in this moment she seemed ready to lower them, even if only a little. "I need you to know something," she whispered, her voice trembling as if speaking her truth was difficult. "I haven't felt this alive in a long time, not since my husband, and never like this. But it scares me. I'm not young anymore, and I never thought I'd experience these feelings again." Her words hung in the air like a fragile thread, delicate and precious, each syllable bearing the weight of her experiences. I sensed the inner battle she faced, a fight against her fears, afraid of losing herself again, yet drawn irresistibly towards something she couldn't ignore. Her eyes sparkled with unshed tears, and in that brief moment I glimpsed the burden she had carried, the loneliness, the heartache, but beneath all that, there was an undeniable spark, a flame reignited after years of dormancy. The fire that had once burned so brightly within her was beginning to flicker back to life, and I wanted nothing more than to nurture it with care. Cradling her face in my hands, I drew her closer until our foreheads touched, deepening the intimacy between us. "You don't have to be afraid, Caroline," I whispered, my voice calm and steady, offering comfort against her worries. "This isn't just about tonight, it's about us and what we're building together. I want to be here for you, not just tonight, but tomorrow and every day after that." I didn't care about the years that set us apart or what anyone else might think. The only thing that truly mattered was the bond we shared in that moment and the possibilities waiting ahead. As I spoke, I tried to express the depth of my emotions and the sincerity of my intentions. I wanted her to see that I was ready to face any challenges that might come our way together. My heart raced at the thought of what we could become, the dreams we could chase, and the memories we could create side by side. For a brief moment, we stood there, foreheads pressed together, sharing a silent understanding that went beyond words. It felt as though the outside world had disappeared, leaving just the two of us in this sacred space of openness and connection. I could feel the steady rhythm of her heartbeat against mine, reminding me that we were alive, present, and that our paths had crossed in this incredible moment. Caroline gently pulled back, her eyes searching mine, perhaps looking for reassurance or a hint of my true intentions. The firelight reflected in her gaze, highlighting the range of emotions swirling inside her. I could see hope and fear wrestling for dominance as she tried to navigate the feelings in her heart. "Can we do this?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Can we build something real, something lasting after everything that's happened?" Her question lingered between us, heavy with the weight of her past and the uncertainty of the future. I took a deep breath, preparing myself for the honesty the moment required. "I believe we can," I replied, my voice steady and sure. "What we have is rare and special. It's worth fighting for, and I'm ready to give it everything I've got to make it work. But it's going to take trust from both of us. We'll need to step out of our comfort zones, embrace the unknown, and be willing to open up, to be vulnerable." Her eyes held mine, and I saw the spark of determination slowly growing within her. She was weighing my words, contemplating the leap of faith that lay ahead. I reached for her hands, intertwining our fingers, anchoring her to the present and the hope of what could be. "We're not doing this alone, Caroline," I said, my voice softening. "We have each other, and together we can face whatever challenges come our way. Let's take this journey together. Let's write our own story, one that respects our pasts while celebrating the beauty of what we have right now." A single tear slid down her cheek, and I gently wiped it away with my thumb, wanting to erase her fears as much as the traces of her past pain. In that moment, I knew we stood on the edge of something extraordinary, a chance to reshape our lives and welcome the love that had blossomed between us. Caroline's expression softened, and the vulnerability in her eyes gave way to something stronger: trust. She squeezed my hand, silently confirming that she was ready to embrace the unknown. "I want this," she said, her voice more certain, filled with a new sense of determination. "I want to explore this with you to see where it takes us." And with that, as the last embers of the fire flickered and faded, I felt a surge of hope rise within me. Together, we stepped into the future, prepared to face whatever lay ahead, hand in hand, with our hearts wide open. As we bring this emotional journey of connection and vulnerability to a close, I encourage you to reflect on what you've learned today. Love can grow in the most unexpected places, showing us the power of opening our hearts no matter where we've come from. What resonated with you the most? Please share one thing you plan to apply in your own life in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to comment, like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories. Thank you for joining me, and remember, every moment has the potential to lead to something beautiful.